Welcome, everybody. This is TJ Mars again from yourlaw.org, and we have a very special guest today. We've been working together for some time, and he's been helping many of our members for a long time. It's Dr. Fred Graves from, better known as the author of Jurisdictionary and How to Win in Court Without a Lawyer. And we're very blessed with the opportunity to have him with us here today. And I'm just I'm honored to have him, and I hope you'll pay close attention to some of the things that we're going to share. I think you're going to find that there are many remedies to the problems that are going on in the world today, and a lot of it starts with you.
Yes.
And it's people are looking to the government and the president and the Congress and whoever, somebody else, to resolve their issues, when the reality is, at least I believe, under biblical principles, we perish for our lack of knowledge and not our lack of a good lawyer. There's no offense to the lawyer present with us today.
Well, that's fine.
So, Dr. Graves, welcome, and thank you for being with us here today.
My pleasure. Thank you. Look
All
forward
right.
to helping some people to understand that they have options.
Many options, actually, and it's amazing how people underestimate what they can do for themselves. So, if you would, basically just give us an overview of what jurisdictionary is and how it can help someone with winning a case without a lawyer.
Very good. Thank you. Well, start by saying that some years ago, I was a fishing boat skipper. I ran a fishing boat out of Savannah, Georgia. I ran a fishing boat out of Key West. I ran a ferry boat on the Chesapeake, and I worked as a carpenter. And that was most of my income for years. I taught sailing, some other things. But I met a young man who suggested I go to law school after we talked about cases and things. He was a brilliant young man. He went on to law school and became a successful attorney, and I think a good one, an honest one. That is sometimes an oxymoron.
An oxymoron, yeah.
But I just heard this morning a wonderful thing that I think is apropos. You can have what others don't have if you will do what others won't do. And people are hurting. People are in pain. People are suffering. And too much of it is because either the law is being misapplied, or they don't know what the law is or how to use the law for their own advantage. And so they're suffering, and they don't have to suffer. A lot of things, I remember when I was a fishing boat skipper, if somebody said, well, you need to hire a lawyer, I would say, well, can I pay him in fish? Because I didn't have enough money to pay a lawyer. And so a lot of people don't. So back in, 30 years ago or so, Mr. Mars, they finally came out with this idea that you could do legal research online, that you could use a computer. And back then, what was the beginning of the internet? And of course, now it's very much advanced. But before 30 years ago, if you wanted to find out what the law was with regard to whatever was causing you problems, you could go to a law library if you lived in a town that had one, and you could look through all those thousands and thousands and thousands of books and hope that you came across something that would help you. But basically, it was impossible. Now, when they came out with this online legal research, now for the first time in the history of the world, what used to cost lawyers thousands of dollars, literally, just to keep up with their law books in their office, if they were in a small town in Ohio, for example, where I grew up, they had to pay for those books so they'd know what the law was. Because believe it or not, we went to law school for 3 years. We didn't learn what all the law is. It's constantly changing. But today we have access to that. So then in 1997, a friend said, well, we're going to have to get you a website. And I said, well, what's a website? And we started Jurisdictionary, and immediately people just thought it was the best thing since sliced bread, because they were able to use what I was teaching, and it's been improving, of course, for these 25 years. But even back then, they were using the simple things that I was teaching then to couple with their ability to access what the law is and win their cases. And it's just been growing ever since then. And we're just truly, truly thankful that God's let us be somebody that can stand in the gap for you.
Excellent. Well, you guys certainly have done you've done an amazing job over the years. It sure sold me many years ago when I had to do some of my own legal research and had to find um, ways to deal with it. I didn't want to have to hire a lawyer if I could help it. And I think it's so critically important now with so many people fighting even the tiniest issues of the tyranny of our government these days, it seems, whether it be shots or masks or traffic tickets or taxes. Everybody has a legal problem. I always say that every time you walk out the front door, you are dealing with the law. And you're interacting with people, and there's a potential of something happening. Everybody in America needs to know about this, which is kind of why we created our mission at urlaw.org to kind of enlighten people to the reality that you have to be knowledgeable about the law. You can care about who's winning Dances with the Stars next week, but this week, if somebody knocks on your door, what are you going to do? And it's a very empowering thing to know this. And I think it goes all the way back even to biblical principles, which I'm sure you agree with, that is the first law book, and maybe the most powerful one yet. So if people understand where that came from, they'll understand that we've been trying to be, they've been knocking on our head for a long time. Learn the law. And it goes all the way back even there. So can you tell us a little bit about how the course works?
Sure.
And just some of the outline? I've got an outline on screen here I'm happy to share as we go through just what they can expect to see.
Right. Well, the interesting thing and really what triggered all of this was when I realized that we could talk about the law and you need to know the law, but the law is contained in literally thousands of dusty old books. But the rules of procedure are about 25 pages in the official books in most states and federal court. And the rules of evidence in for example, every federal court and all the states pattern their laws, and I'm sorry, use the word laws, I'm going to use the word rules. They pattern their rules after the federal rules. The rules of evidence in every case, whether it's a civil case or a criminal case, are 19 pages. So this happened back in 1997. I realized, my gosh, all that other stuff that I learned in law school really wasn't what people really need to know, because any particular person that has any particular case, there's only a handful of laws that pertain to that one case. They don't have to know all the law, but they have to know the law of that particular case. Maybe it's a dog bite case, or somebody, ran into your house with an automobile. Then there's only a handful of law that needs to be understood. Now, what do you do with the law? And that's where my course comes in and teaches you what we call due process, which is merely a matter of using the rules of procedure, about 25 pages in most states, and the rules of evidence, 18 or 19 pages. And so what I decided to do is I was going to explain, how do you use those rules? For example, there's a thing called interrogatories, just one thing. And it's an opportunity you have to ask somebody to answer questions under oath or go to jail. People don't know they have that power. I actually had to put somebody in jail one time for not answering a question under oath. He answered the question eventually, but I had that power, and so does everybody hearing my voice right now. You have that power to command people to do what these rules require, and you can learn the rules very quickly. They're very easy to learn, and then all you need to know to win your case is to allege the facts that are necessary to win, then prove the facts that are necessary to win using 5 discovery tools, and then move the court with a motion to enter an order granting you what you want. And when I began to see how simple all this really was, I kind of scratched my head and said, well, why did I spend over $100,000 in 3 years of my life going to law school when that's really all there is to it? They just kind of required me to go to law school so I could pass the bar and practice law. But now we're just enjoying the responses from people who are going to court and getting their children back and preventing their homes from being taken from them. And one fella won $200,000 and some from his employer who stole his copyright using my course. And it just turns out just so easy, anybody can do it. I know it sounds like we're just trying to sell something, but people are hurting. They don't have to hurt, but they can sit around and wait for somebody else to do it till the cows come home and nobody's going to do it for them. They can do it for themselves, or they can complain or carry signs in the street or use some of these off-the-wall methods that some people are offering on the internet. Or you can learn the official rules, what actually does work and what will actually control judges so you can get what you want.
Yeah, I think that a big problem I've encountered with a lot of our members is along the way is just some people just don't want to do a little bit of homework. We're all inherently, I guess, I know I'm guilty of it too. I get lazy sometimes too, but ultimately doing a little bit of homework is the most empowering thing you can do. I always say that you can do far more than most attorneys can do or are willing to do in court. Sometimes they're just wanting to get a quick settlement and get it out of the way and move to the next case. Whereas you're going to be more, you have a vested interest in that outcome. And if you present it correctly, it has a lot of power. We've seen a lot of other sides become very nervous when somebody walks in and actually follows the procedures. And as you said, they're relatively simple to learn and to implement. And for bringing up discovery rules and discovery itself has been powerful. I've even used it in my own son's case in a speeding ticket. He had we started demanding discovery for various things, and they didn't want to answer those questions. And he kept bringing it up. Well, are we going to proceed without even my opportunity for discovery? He kept bringing that up. And in the end, the judge, dropped the case down to a very minimal thing, no points, sort of compromised a little bit. He didn't do it perfectly, but by bringing that issue up several times, she even acknowledged, okay, you've preserved your case for appeal. I get it. So here's what I'm going to do. And she just dropped it down, So
Right.
it does have a powerful effect, even if you're not 100% perfect. I think people worry about making mistakes instead of staying on course and understanding they only need to stay on a couple of key things to win. If they have a winnable case, as you say, not every case is winnable, but if you outright did the deed, you murdered somebody, you're going to have to be dealt with. But if you're technically innocent or they break the rules, there's a lot you can do to get a better outcome. And I don't try to tell people to try to get 100% win all the time. Sometimes 90% is good. You maybe got yourself into something, but if you use the rules, you're going to get the best outcome. And so that's what I've always found to be true with what I learned from your course. Do you have any other specific I know you probably have hundreds of examples, but I mean, is there a few other stories that you know of that people have used, examples?
Well, we've had people get their home back, get their children back, avoid foreclosure. I remember one man called me. I was actually driving somewhere. He called me on the phone. And he said, "Is this Dr. Graves?" I said, "Yeah." And he says, "I haven't seen my children in 5 years. Now I have sole custody, and it's all because of your course." But people can learn this in 6 or 8 hours. You'll know how the game is played. And then there's more to the course. You can dig into things. Like I say, that you talk about discovery, Mr. Mars, and there's only 5 tools. They're easy to learn how to use: requests for admissions, requests for production, interrogatories, depositions, and subpoena power. You have all those tools. They belong to you. They belong to every one of us. And when people don't obey those rules, they can be using what my course teaches, and there's forms in there to do this. They can be compelled to do these things because I mention this frequently, that's what millions of people gave their lives to secure for you, is your right to be heard and to call witnesses and to use the courts. That's what they're for. And I just want everybody to learn how to do it and start doing it instead of letting other people run the world or waiting on somebody to fix what your problem is, because there's no other way to fix it other than getting a court order. You can wait till November, vote for new politicians, and they're going to continue to do whatever will get them reelected, whereas you can force a judge to enter an order that will give you what you want, and it doesn't take long to do. Lawyers will drag out a case forever and ever, but if you do things properly, there's no reason why a case should go on for just more than a couple of months, maybe 3 or 4 months at a time. But it is something that an average 8th grader can learn how to do in 6 or 8 hours.
I totally agree. I think we just look at the current times with all the activity of COVID and all these lockdowns and these rules and these mandates and things that are being imposed. And I keep reminding people, I said, is that really the law? Are you actually looking to see if are they really using the law? Are they? I don't know. And I think that if enough people, though, take a look at the facts, follow the rules, they can go into these courts and make a difference. And I know people that have done it here locally. And, it's interesting how the government backs down when you actually start bringing up certain key facts about what they're doing. And, so again, these are people that are not waiting for the government to fix the problem. They're the ones helping create the problem. I think it was Reagan that said, government is the problem. And so often that is the case. Not always, but today it seems to be people are so willing to just walk away from their rights and not fight and just succumb to whatever is being imposed upon them. And that's called tyranny. And
well, I try to tell people, excuse me, but if you don't know how to enforce your rights, you don't have any rights. I mean, they're just empty promises. You can say, well, I have a right to this and the other thing. But if you can't enforce that when somebody challenges it, then do you really have a right? If you don't have the power to make that right functional, then what good is it? So we can talk about rights till we turn blue, but not knowing how to enforce the rights. And my course, coupled with the ability now to do legal research online, and my course has a class on how to do that. There's even a tool in there so you can do legal research for free using the tool that's in the course. So when now you have this, and so now when people are doing things that harm you or even threaten to harm you, you have a remedy. And that remedy was always a plan that we should have. It's just that up until 30 years ago, and then up until 25, when I created the course to make all this so that an ordinary person can understand it, now this is in the hands of the people themselves. And now we can actually have a government of the people, for the people, and by the people, instead of the lawyers and politicians and so forth. It belongs to us. We can do this.
Dr. Graves, what do you say to people that say, well, the system's it's all corrupt. The judges are always corrupt.
Oh, good.
They're always ripping me off. The lawyers are all ripping me off. When you hear people starting to say that kind of language, what do you think?
Thank you for that question. I love that question because yes, there are corrupt people who use these rules corruptly and twist the rules and mislead judges. And that's a fact. And when you put the word system in that context, you're right. I agree with you. But in the way I see it is the word system applies to a mechanical set of rules of procedure. For example, I have a right to require somebody to produce documents. I can make them produce their toothbrush. If that's going to be relative in the case, and I need to see the toothbrush to have it examined or whatever, I can force them to turn over the toothbrush or go to jail. And everybody hearing me has the same power. This is what our rights are. The right to enforce your rights is your number one right. But if you don't know how to enforce your rights, then yeah, you can complain that, well, they weren't fair and blah, 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 and cry in your beer, but it doesn't change anything. Going to court and getting a court order changes things. And it's just a joy when I get emails from people that are happy about doing this and taking responsibility for their lives and making a difference and getting back to the way things were before they had a problem and getting rid of the problem, getting over with it, getting on with life.
Yeah, I say that either you move the court or they're probably going to move you. And
that's a good way to put it.
You should probably understand that you have that ability if you just follow some basic rules. Mm-hmm. I say if you're going to go work for McDonald's, you're going to have to follow their rules. If you're going to walk into their courts, you can follow their rules, but they got the rules right there in front of you. All you got to do
and they're fair. They don't favor lawyers. And I've emphasized this with people over and over again. I won case after case after case. I really did. Maybe I cheated by only taking good people for clients. I don't know, maybe, but I won a lot of cases. And there was always a lawyer on the other side. I remember one case I had 100 and some lawyers on the other side in a case against an insurance company. And I won. So did I win because I was a lawyer? How could that be when there were lawyers on the other side? They didn't win. They were lawyers. So I didn't win because I was a lawyer. I won because years ago I had a friend that was a professor at the law school I went to, and he and I were the same age. I didn't go to law school, I was 39. And he taught me a bunch of things that we didn't learn in law school about how to use the rules. And once you know how to use the rules, you can learn it in 6 or 8 hours. Now you win, and you don't put up with a bunch of nonsense. And judges respect you for it when you come in and do the right thing. If you come in and try to play some kind of silly game that you learned about from somebody else on the internet, you're probably not going to get a good response. But if you go in and say, well, excuse me, Your Honor, but this is the official rule with regard to requests for admissions. These people have to admit this, or you have to rule that it's been admitted. And they have to produce this. They have to answer these questions under oath. And this person won't answer the question under oath. And I file a motion to show cause why he shouldn't be held in contempt of court and so forth. This belongs to the people, Mr. Mars, and I want the people to know that that power belongs to them. The system, if you think about it only in terms of the mechanism, the rules of due process, it's a wonderful system. And it offers everybody with the hearing of my voice the ability to change their world for the better.
Yeah, well, it certainly, and it still exists. We hear today, people, well, the system doesn't exist. It's all been wiped out. And, it's we're
true.
U.S. citizens, we're slaves, and we have nothing. And,
That's not true.
And it's just not true. I know it is. I would say the first attack should always be find their defects, and the defects are usually in the rules or the evidence. And so that's the best way to win. It always has been and always will be, in my opinion. Even courts around the world, I've noticed, are trying more and more to adopt our system over time, and because it has turned out to be one of the fairest systems. But when somebody's saying, oh, it's not fair and it's corrupt, it's usually I'll start noticing there's a pattern there. They're not listening. They're not willing to learn. They're just the victim. And when you stop the victimhood and you start being objective and looking at the information, you can find that you can do a lot. And that's been our mission for a long time, as I know it's been yours. And so it's been a pleasure being on that path with you. Are there any tips in terms of if somebody decides to start the course? And by the way, our link is urlaw.org/JD, just /JD. Remember that. But are there any, if they get in and they want to learn this, I mean, how long is it going to take, and what kind of tips as far as, staying calm while they're learning, because they might be in a situation, how quickly can they probably get something going?
Well, a good long weekend. By the end of the weekend, you'll know, you're going to know more than you know now for sure. And by the end of the weekend, you'll actually understand how the process works. You'll understand about evidence, things like, for example, there are cases that are lost simply because no one would object when the lawyer on the other side started testifying about facts about which he had no personal knowledge. That's a simple objection. All you have to do is say, objection, counsel is testifying, Your Honor. He doesn't have any firsthand knowledge about what he's saying, so he needs to sit down and call a witness or produce some documents or something, instead of him telling the jury what happened on Tuesday and back in October. He can't do that, but the people don't know any better. Same thing with circumstantial evidence. So many people are in prison right now that should never have gone to prison, didn't do anything wrong, but they're in there because they didn't understand how to stop somebody from using circumstantial evidence. My course covers all this. So you don't have to be victimized by the ignorance of your own lawyer, if you have one, God forbid. But if you have a lawyer, you need to know what the lawyer should know, and you'll learn all that very quickly. It doesn't take a lot of time, because we're not trying to teach you all the law. We're trying to teach you one simple thing, one particular aspect of all this, and that is how to win in court. That's it. How to win in court for whatever your argument is, whatever's going on, whether you've been accused of a crime you didn't commit, or somebody says you breached a contract and they want to sue you, or you paid somebody to paint your house, they didn't paint the house, or they painted the wrong color or whatever, and you need to sue them. It's all here for you. And otherwise, what option do you have? What alternative do you have other than to deal with these problems in the court? I don't think there is any, really. Parade in the streets, see how far that gets you.
Right. Well, it certainly is. It's powerful, because what I've discovered and learned with working with our members over the years is the more prepared you are the other side will see, and very early on, they'll see that you're prepared. That's when they tend to start making the offers, or you can move, get things, because nobody wants to go to court. But being prepared, I found, is what prevents you from having to go to court or go very far through the court system to get a case dismissed. You definitely don't want to you don't want to go to trial and have to do it in front of a jury. You want to win before that. And I would probably say that most people that are using this program find that's how it goes. They don't end up in a trial, where they're going to be probably victimized by the court because you've done all the right things leading up to that point that get the case dismissed or removed.
No need to go to trial. If you have a winnable case, you can use the proper pleadings, which we teach, to allege what you need to allege, and use the 5 discovery tools to prove that what you alleged is true. And the official records tell us that less than 1% of cases go to trial. 1%.
Yeah.
And so if you use these case-winning court tactics that are easy to learn, then you don't have to go to trial. You just make these people roll over and pay you what they need to pay you, or get off your back if they're suing you, or if it's a criminal case against you, you can force them to prove beyond the exclusion of any reasonable doubt there's no alternative theory of the case, and so forth, and you're acquitted, and it's over with, and you get back to enjoying life, which is really, I think, if my course is for anything else, I think the main thing it's for is so that people don't have to suffer and enjoy life. Life is short.
Yeah.
I'm getting on in years, and life is short. You don't want to let people beat up on you if you don't have to.
Absolutely. I'll tell you what, there are many things you can do in life to be entertained and to be enlightened or to feel good about something you've done in life. But when you can develop some knowledge like this and you take it and you do something with it, you become a new person. When you win a case and you realize you can do it yourself, you realize that you're in far more control of the world than you think. And that's an empowering thing just by itself. So,
and you can help other people.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, well, I tell you what, I think we've covered a lot here. Unless you have some final words of wisdom, I think we can probably wrap it up. But again, everybody use our link, urlaw.org/JD. That is the link. And plus we have links on our website as well and how to get this. We feel it's an essential part of the overall thing. We're here to have a discussion and a forum and a place for people to bounce around ideas. And we always tell everyone that joins our membership, this is a core fundamental part of that. You need to have this down and get this down, because wherever you go with your case, you got to have these fundamentals of the knowing how to do motions and procedures and knowing the rules, and it will help you in any aspect of what you're doing. And again, it'll give you great confidence in anything you're trying to move forward and do in life as well as in the law. So I hope you'll do that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Graves. Thanks for being here, and thanks for your valuable time. Look forward to continued relationship and working with you.
Me too.